Hello everybody, starting just a couple minutes early, but we won't actually start until 12:30 rolls around, but figured I'd start the stream, say hello to everybody, and then send out some announcements on the social media. Right, one down, two to go. I don't know why I said two to go, it's really just one to go. Okay, I think that is notifications done for. Let's see here about making, being able to monitor the chat. Hey, look, there we are, we're live. Let's mute this. Oh, my speakers are off, so it's muted. Guess we should see. Okay, I think that it sounds okay in general. Notifications done for. Sounds coming through. Let's see here about. I hear myself. Being able to monitor the chat. Hey, look, the mute button. Okay. Say hi, chat. Ask any questions you have. Make your requests. Let's have fun today. Oh boy, I can't type for shit, can I? Boop! No, that's not right. God damn it. UI. I think I wanted to type Yowie. Let's have fun today. Okay. And we're going to pin this bad boy to the top. Pin message. All right. Okay, so as you can probably see here, we have some new hardware that I have recently acquired. This here is the circuit monostation, obviously. If you may be familiar with the slightly better known original circuit, the circuit tracks, and the circuit rhythm, which I showed last week. That's actually just right here. So if we have time, which I don't think we will, but there's plenty to talk about with this stuff. But if we were to have time, we could always bring that into and mix it. It mixes quite well with the circuit monostation. But yeah, we probably won't have time to mess with any of that. But yeah, so this is the second circuit that they made after the original circuit. They made the circuit monostation, and what it is the sequencer from the circuit. This is almost like straight up. It's a little different because this is monophonic, paraphonic, so like you can't do chords in the sequencer or whatever. But it's otherwise essentially the same sequencer as the original circuit, and there's probably a couple other minor tweaks, but attached to the synthesizer, the guts, most of the guts of a base station, or base station 2. And my understanding is this is cut down just a little bit. It lacks one of the filters. The base station has 2 filters, and this just has one. I think that's the thing. And there's maybe one other thing, like it has one envelope instead of two or something like that. I'm not an expert on the base station. I can't say for sure what all the differences are. I do know this is based on the base station, but cut down a little bit. Okay, so but that's fine. That's neither here nor there because we'll just treat it as its own thing, and we'll go through it bit by bit. And then this bad boy here, this blue beast, is the Soma Cosmos drifting memory station. It says it is a non-conventional looper, is what it is. There is a conventional firmware available for it, but in its normal form, its base form, if you will, it is it's not a it's more for ambient music and impressionistic music, soundscapes, things like that, rather than what you might traditionally use a looper for, which lots of in time, on rhythm, layering and whatnot. You could do that with this, but you kind of have to commit to its foibles, to its timing and whatnot. Or you can just kind of, do the ambient thing that it's made for. And then there's also some alternate firmwares, but we're just using the base firmware today. I just got this yesterday afternoon. I have spent less than 40 minutes with it. I had to work all day yesterday, and by the time I did my evening January patch, my January jam of the day, I didn't have a huge amount of energy left for anything, but I did manage to fire this up with the Soma and just kind of check it out a little bit. But just that. So right now I've got this 100%. Well, the mix is set to half, but there's nothing. The looper is not recording at all, so there's nothing going into it. We'll turn on the record of that in a minute, but I wanted to first. We'll intro the monostation and go through its sort of features and setup and whatnot, and maybe make a quick sound or two with it, and then we can look at the Cosmos, and then we'll play with them together. Okay, so this is it's a duophonic synth. It has two oscillators which can be addressed separately. Only one VCA, one filter, one audio path, but you can split out the second oscillator. It can be controlled with its own sequencer track if you want to do that. It can also just be controlled with the normal part one, which is the pink one here. That's the default, is when you play one, the other sounds as well, but you can switch it into a different mode where you can address them differently. Probably won't do that today. It's certainly useful for some things, but it's kind of a fringe case. Generally speaking, you want both your oscillators to play when you play a note. Okay, so I'll just go across the top. So we got a volume knob here, not super exciting. This is your tempo knob. As you can see here, there's a little readout. This is fun if you've ever done a circuit. It's kind of cool. They use the pads as a screen of sorts. It's a little funky, but for those of us that grew up with calculators, 7-segment display calculators and whatever, it feels pretty natural, pretty manageable. And you can also tap tempo, so bump, 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 bump. Let's see how I did there. Oh, 93, huh? Bump, 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 bump. 109. I'm a little low today. Usually I can just nail 120 without even breaking a sweat. Okay, next over, LFO, low frequency oscillator. I'm sure you know what that is and what that does. It's you got triangle, saw, square, and sample and hold / noise waveforms. You can sync them to the beat if you want to do that, or you can just do the rate here, and it looks like it goes well into audio range. Okay. Then you have an envelope, standard ADSR, completely independent decay and release phases. It's got a really long release. right? Okay, you get the idea. Decay is similarly long. This will decay down to 0 eventually, but I'm just going to kind of try and show you that. Hello, swarm of dead insects. How you doing? Yeah, it is immense, and it is built like a tank too. It weighs 2.2 kilograms. So as you can see, that decay stage is also enormously long. I mean, that's one thing I've noticed. This is definitely one of those scents where a lot of the play that you would want for most sounds, sort of short to medium range, decay and or release, are going to be in the first like quarter of this throw, just like here to here, and then everything from like here, I'll just show you. I'll turn the decay all the way down, or turn the decay here. Everything from like here on is pretty, you know, in the realm of long. So that's just over half. Takes quite a while to decay, but I mean, that's not a complaint. It's just noting. And the attack times can go certainly not as long as the decay and release stages, but long enough that you can have some interesting kind of faded in sort of things. Here's a mod matrix here. This is an impressive little mod matrix. It's packs a lot of stuff into a pretty small area. So you've got 4 sources: envelope, LFO, sequence, and velocity. Sequence is a separate sequencer track that you can apply a control voltage to like do external controls or whatever. I think you can link it to certain things, but you can also just record in any sequencer track knob movements. So it's kind of interesting. But you've got the envelope, LFO, and then velocity as sources, and then those go to destinations including pitch, pulse width modulation, the amp, the filter, the distortion, and the aux CV. So that's most of your reasonable. You know, there's probably a few others they could have squeezed in, but you know, envelope to resonance or whatever. But again, you can tweak all that in the sequencer if that's what you want to do. So you have a ton of flexibility with this. Swarm of Dead Insects. It probably is good for operating with feet. I don't know that I'll ever do that. I'm not really a pedal guy. Like, all my pedals typically sit on a table somewhere. I will say that despite being kind of pedal style switches, they are very easy to operate. I already got some goo on my pedal there. I don't know if it came like that or if I managed to spit something on there already. Gross. Yeah, it probably is very easy to operate with your feet, all the same. Okay, then the oscillator section. There's 2 oscillators. They both have all your standard wave shapes. So you got a sine, a triangle, a square, and a saw. Or I'm sorry, a sine, triangle, saw, and a square / pulse. Right. And you've got a coarse tuning and a range. 16, 18, 4, 2, the sort of old pipe organ stop sort of thing. But in other words, it goes pretty low. Tune it. You can go even further down. Now you're like almost an LFO there, right? And then second oscillator, to access it, you push this green button, and when it's green, it's the second oscillator, same coarse and fine tuning. And we'll get to the mixer section in a second here. Select the wave shape, etc. Mixer is the next section. It has these little light up. Yeah, so on the one hand, it's I don't in general love these kind of knobs, these small potentiators. What are they called? I can't remember. There has a name for when it's just like this, trimmers or whatever, right? But I will say that the design here is very slick with the, if you can, hopefully you can see that. So it's all the way off. There's no sound, or very little. Sounds very low. And Let's turn. Oh, it's because the sub oscillator's up. Turn the sub all the way down. Sub down. Yeah. Okay. So now there's no sound, and as you see, as it gets louder, it gets brighter. So we can bring our second oscillator in. Right? All right. And then also in the mixer section, you got a sub oscillator that's, I think, tied to oscillator 1, and a noise source. There's also an audio in on the back that's here, right? And then a dedicated ring modulator that you can. And then the filter section. So filter has a knob for you can to overdrive the filter first, which is kind of fun. I do appreciate that it's got a built-in dedicated overdrive stage. It's got a button here to switch between low pass, band pass, and high pass. Button here for slope, 12 or 24 dB. Got a knob for resonance, knob for your frequency, and then kind of nice. I mentioned this is a duophonic synthesizer that you can address the second oscillator directly, and you can also bypass the filter with the noise or the oscillator too, or both. Okay, so that just takes them outside the filter. So if you shut all the way down, they're still going strong, right? And you know, I don't know how you wouldn't necessarily want to do that all the time, but it is a cool option to have. It definitely. Yeah, yes, they are. I think they are the same as what's on the Monotron. God, I have a Monotron right here next to me. Yep. Yeah, very similar. Same kind of deal. They might be one size smaller or one size larger than that. I can't quite tell. They're pretty goddamn close, though, to this knob size. And right, you know, and on a Monotron, it kind of feels okay. It feels normal. Because Monotrons sort of feel like a toy. On this, it's, you know, on bigger gear, it's always a little annoying, but I understand why they did it. This is a very tight space. You know, as big as this thing is, like, this is actually, I actually kind of thought it might have been, when looking at it, I thought it might be bigger, but it's just a little bigger than the original circuit. I want to say the original circuit was kind of ended here, right? So it has this extra section, call it 3 inches, 2.5 inches on the top. But that's an impressive amount of space to squeeze such a full-featured 2-oscillator analog synth into that amount of space, right? So, okay, so overdrive, resonance, frequency, and then the last thing, past the filter section, the very last thing is a distortion. It's got 3 distortions. Type 1 is like a regular overdrive, like clipper, you know, typical like distortion, square wavy kind of deal. Option 2 is a fuzz. Turn that ring modulator off. And option stuff going on. Option 3 is both together. So you can run the clipper and the fuzz, and then of course you can overdrive the filter. So this, as you might guess, from a synth that has 3 distortion types and a dedicated overdrive stage for the filter, this thing can get pretty nasty. Let's see here. Let's look at some. Let's check out some of the demo stuff, right? So we got some acid. Oh, I should mention too, you can store presets on this. I haven't quite actually figured out how to store them yet. You can they're saved with your sessions as well. That's what we're in the session view right now. So like if I made a bunch of changes to this sound and hit save for the session, it would also save it on there. I haven't quite figured out how to save the patches. I haven't tried. I haven't really looked it up. My intuitive guess about how to do it was wrong. I'll say that. But I have not followed up to figure out how to actually do it. So again, this is all very new gear to me. This I got Saturday. I want to say I got this Saturday, and this I got yesterday. So new stuff. Okay, so there's like an acid sequence. A lot of these. So here's the. This is where you select the patterns, and as you might be able to see here, this is going through an entire. There's 16 patterns here, and this is using all 16 of them. They're all chained together. And as you can hear, they have recorded a bunch of filter automation. It's about to loop back to the beginning. Now it's back at the beginning. That's the 16 bar frame. Much like a 303, there's you can get a lot of mileage out of just twisting the knobs while it's doing its thing, right? Particularly the filter knobs, as the best sense. The one here is it's big and inviting, and it just basically begs you to turn it. It begs you to hey, do this. Let's do this. Okay, so let's. Almost like a trance lead or something there. Oh, by the way, can you hear me okay? I keep moving my head and the microphone like too far, forward where the microphone is because of the way I have my camera set up and everything. So let me know if you're having a hard time hearing me. I might be able to. It's not. It's one base station, cut down slightly, so it's missing. So the original circuit had two cut down Nova synths, which are digital polysynths, and this has a cut down base station. And as I went through it at the beginning, but I'm thinking you hadn't joined yet. I'm not entirely sure what's removed. One of the filters, I think, and then maybe one or two other things. Okay, sound is fine. Okay, I mean, as long as you can hear me okay, I'm not worried about whether or not the synth is louder or I'm louder. I just want to be legible, that's all. Understandable. Okay, so kind of like almost like a trance lead here. Another acid, very 303 coded kind of deal. Techno, electro, more acid. I mean, I'm not surprised there's a lot of acid. It's a very acid-friendly synth. That one's kind of cool. Well, maybe we'll come back and play with that one with the mono station or the looper in a second here. Oh, there's no reason to be sorry, man. I didn't mean anything by it. I just it was just like, oh, I'd already mentioned this, but then I was like, oh, of course, he wasn't here yet, so no worries at all. Like, I'm thrilled that you show up every week. Like I can't ask for more than that. Trying to get people. Wednesday in the middle of the day is a very weird time to be streaming. I realize that. Yep, that's kind of interesting too. Looks like a little fake drum beat. Yeah, so I haven't gotten into it much, but apparently you can. Oh, here, I'll show you actually in just a second. Patch flip is what I'll show you in a second. That's pretty nice sounding synth, man. so let me show you this patch thing here. So these are the different patches. And as you can see, there's no delay at all in switching between them. And so because of that, you can actually, like right now it's recording, right? So yeah, you can record the switching between them. So you can, like, for example, make a bunch of drum sounds and switch back and forth between them in the sequencing and use it as like a drum machine. So that alone, that's a crazy powerful ability to be able to do like literally every step of your sequence. So 16 steps per. This one is the older design paradigm for Novation circuits, which is each pattern is 16 steps no matter what. The newer ones you can switch in between 16 or 32 steps, so you can have either a 1 or a 2 bar sequence or a 1 bar sequence with additional steps if you want to run it that way. But this is 16 per, with then 16 patterns set up. So you can chain these together very easily. Although the ways that you can only chain them together sequentially. So it can only go 1 into 2 into 3 into 4, not 1 into 5 into 7 into 9. But it can also go 4 into 5 into 6 into 7, or 7 into 8 into 9 into 10, etc. Just sequentially, right? 1 through 7, sure, whatever. And yeah, so and each step of each of those 16 steps, so 16 times 16, 256 steps in this sequencer, right? You could have a different sound on each of those 256 steps if you wanted to do that for some reason. Yeah, eBay. Joker voice, Barry White. I get them off eBay. That's where I got the 2 circuits. This I bought from BH Photo in New York because at the end of so I actually ordered this, and we'll move. Maybe that's a good opportunity to move over to this. Let's go back to the sessions. Good. Okay, we got this. So I picked up the sessions from BH Photo in New York because I saw that last year that at the very end of the year, so I've been wanting this thing since it came out, since it was announced even. And I kind of dithered and went back and forth. Do I really need it? And I don't even know if I do really need it. Need is a strong word anyway. I almost certainly do not need it. I don't know if it's really going to have a meaningful place in my collection or not, because it's weird, right? It's a weird piece of gear, but it's a cool piece of gear, so I wanted to try it out. Hey, how's it going, Digital Druid? Good to see you, my friend. I wanted to try it out. It looks really cool. I really like Soma's vibe. I like that organismic thing that they go for, where it's, as much as I like having a very granular control of a synthesizer, and not granular in the sense of a synthesis method, but granular in the sense of being able to dial in every little thing, being able to dial in exactly how much LFO goes to the pulse width and exactly how much filter is modulated by a different LFO or whatever. As much as I value being able to do all that shit, it's also really cool to have things that are a little more holistic and a little less definable, right? Like when you pick up a guitar and hit it, there are hundreds of processes happening there, right? When you stroke the strings, there's the percussive sound, of the pick hitting the strings. Maybe your fingers are scraping the thing. There's the strings are vibrating and resonating within the body of the guitar if it's an acoustic guitar, or they're vibrating and creating electromagnetic patterns in the pickups for an electric, or both if it's an electric acoustic guitar. Um, and heat can affect it, humidity can affect it, the way that you're holding it, the angle, all these things can affect it. And synthesizers don't really have that. You have to define every little thing. And Soma's synthesizers and effects have a more, he calls it organismic, a quasi-organic quality that's somewhat unpredictable. Is what he, he builds these systems within them that when you do one thing, it affects this thing, which affects that thing, which feeds back to this other thing. And this is not well documented, just like it's not well documented what happens when you pick up a guitar and just whang and strum it. You got to figure that out for yourself, get a degree in physics and figure all that out. But you can also just play with it and whatever, and just be happy with what comes out. And anyway, so that's Soma's deal. I knew I wanted one of these as soon as it came out. I went back and forth on it forever. This thing has been out like 3 or 4 years at this point, or maybe it's only like 2 years. But and I decided when I decided I was going to get rid of my Hydrosynth. This is sort of what I was thinking I would spend the money on. And so let's just say that I did that. That this is the money that came out of my Hydrosynth, and I used money from other stuff to buy all this other crap. But the idea with this was just that I saw this at B&H. I knew I wanted it. And at the end of the year, I saw their price was going up. So these are now $750. They used to be $600, $599, right? And B&H had it at the end of the year last year. They were out of stock, but on back order. But you could order one for the old price still. And I was like, well, I'm gonna see if I can get one of these before it goes up to $750, because I'm not sure I need it at $600. I definitely don't need it at $750, right? So I put in my order at B&H. It was back ordered for over a month, and then today, or a week ago, whatever, 10 days ago, I got this. Hey, it's back in stock. I did get it for the $600 price, so there we go. That's where I get my wonderful toys. Okay, probably talked too much about that. But yeah, okay, now we'll play with this thing, right? So, Soma Cosmos. Blur, drift, drive. It's got an unusual set of controls. Input's pretty straightforward, right? Blur sort of, as my understanding, it blurs the delay lines, intermixes them, it blurs it, right? Drift shifts the timing. Drive introduces a saturation drive effect. This is your algorithm switcher. This is a suppressor on this side and a compressor on that side. And then the feedback here, which, feedback I'm sure you're familiar with. I guess I must have had that recorded. I'll hold the erase knob down and erase that. I didn't even realize this was going. I must have had something in there from earlier when I was screwing around with it. Okay, I thought I'd erased everything in the buffer, but that's okay. Okay, so as you can see, this one's got little 2 lines, right? This one's got 3 or 4 lines. This one's got a bunch of lines, buttload of lines. I don't know why I said butthole, buttload is what I was going for. And this has almost like a little chain link. So this is 2 delay lines. The small dot is the shortest delay, and the biggest dot is the longest delay. I'm sure you can figure out what the middle dot is. This is 4 delay lines, same deal. Big to small dots, 3 dots, shortest delay, medium delay, longest delays. This is an unnaturally large reverb. Maybe we should actually start with that one. The first one is only enormous, and then it's like super ginormous, and then it's galaxy sized or whatever, galaxy brain, if you will. And then this last one is a granular effect, and just sort of 3 levels of the granularization and what's going on with that. Yes, Siat Lombard is spiritually adjacent, I would say, to Soma, right? Now, Siat Lombard has that whole, they want to go with that really organic wooden, they don't even look like musical instruments most of the time. They look like weird art objects, abstract art objects. And I would say that Soma is a little more traditional in their packaging, at least. But yes, very much similar design philosophy in terms of you make one movement and it's going to affect 6 different things, and it's all very, vibey and feedbacky and whatever, and not precise and dry and whatever. Okay, enough talking. Let's make some fucking noise, right? Right, so we got this weird little sequence here. Let's just start feeding into the delays. As far as the indicators go, I don't know. I don't know what they mean. We're going to have to figure that out together. It's lit red, so I don't know if that's bad, but it doesn't sound bad, so I'm not going to worry about it. Maybe it's distorting in the buffer. Maybe that's what's going on, which I'm okay with as long as... internally, it's got a built-in limiter internally, so you can't clip it internally. You can clip it at the inputs. Obviously, you can clip anything at the fucking inputs. But if you avoid clipping it at the inputs, it won't clip internally. It just saturates. That's what I'm told anyway by looking at the manual. So that's definitely pretty interesting. Oh, there's low-pass and high-pass filters on this as well. I forgot to mention that. Gauge that. So there's 3 different levels of filtering. As you can see, this is it's very abstract, right? Like, we're just doing weird stuff, seeing what comes out here. The actual synth that's just dry, and then here's the full wet. Okay, so yeah, they're pretty interesting. So we'll switch to the longer. So this is still 2 delay lines, but these are longer delays. Just leave that kind of all the same. Through here. Here we can kind of see the pattern that's playing. That is an interesting pattern. So I guess these are all same pattern in all 16 slots, and what they're doing is automating all the knobs, right? That's what they're doing here, and you can record over all that. It looks like we've got oscillator 2 is bypassing the filter in this too. That's interesting. So see, I just recorded over some of those knob movements. It's as simple as that. You just hit record while it's going and move the knob you want. This is still recording this whole time. It's recording. The looper is going the whole time. Let's go ahead and switch it to the longest ones. We'll take our delay back up. And so yeah, this is clearly a machine that is meant for, I mentioned this, but just to reiterate, with the base firmware, this is largely meant for ambient, abstract, whatever. Not to say that you couldn't use something like this in techno, like if I wanted to use this in techno, like let's look at one of these acid So I cleared the buffer, I hope. That's what I was trying to do there. I'll turn the reverse on. So you got it's also got a reverse switch, so you can just reverse the buffer at any time you want to, which is kind of fun. see what this is like with something rhythmic. It's actually not bad at all. It's not stepping on the rhythm too bad. And if I wanted it to be... Sorry, just so I can talk for a second. If I wanted it to be... So if I was going to use this in a techno track I say techno, but any sort of dance music, anything that's very rhythmically demanding, it could be trance, it could be techno, dubstep, whatever, it doesn't really matter. But let's just say dance music. If I was going to use this in a dance music track and I needed it to be not tame, but disciplined, right? If I needed it to be on beat, I would probably run it through a gate of some sort on the other side to where you gate it in time to the beat. So you might end up in a situation where something is happening, where you're missing out on something because it's happening off beat, but it's not going to fuck you up. It's not going to train wreck what you're trying to do because it's gated in time to the beat, right? So you could run this through a gator, like an automated gate or pumper, a side chain kind of a thing, and it would just, pump. So every time the kick drum hits, it just lets a slice of this through, and then that would be a pretty cool compliment over the top of your ass. Or you can just use it for a breakdown. Feedback even higher up, right? Reverse everything. Turn the record off. Let's try another. A different sort of acid, right? Let's go ahead and turn this one on. Oh, I was gonna try let's try 4 delay lines. So we'll start with the short ones. This is 4 delay lines instead of 2. Already much crazier. Okay, so this is a good example. The 2 delay line, I thought that was, oh yes. If this thing, I'm sure lots of post-rock guys already have this on their board. It is definitely a post-rock pedal, 100%. It's shoegaze too. I think that this has amazing shoegaze potential. So if you're a guitarist and you are making post-rock or shoegaze or any of the spacier guitar-driven genres, definitely recommend checking this thing out. But yeah, so this is an example of the 4 delay is a better example. I think the 2 delay line, even though it wasn't synced to the beat or whatever, it sounded pretty cool, right? It was definitely like doing a weird polyrhythmic or polymetric thing where it's kind of pushing and pulling against the beat, but because it's just 2 delay lines, it worked. With the 4, that's chaos. That's just a throb at this point, too. Erase everything. All right, and then very quickly I'm getting these delays come in. It gets pretty wild right away. Let's try the longer delays. Turn on some high-pass filtering. So yeah, Kind of a slushy mess there. Complimentary. When I say it's a slushy mess, I mean it's in the best possible way. All right, let's try the reverb. So they did mention that this reverb is so big that the early reflections actually register as honest-to-God delay lines, and that's what you're hearing, and then they slowly fade into this enormous reverb. And as I recall, the blur and drift don't do anything on the reverb. The controls shift a little bit depending on which algorithm you're in. Alright, let's go even bigger. I've stopped the sequence now, so this is just the reverb going. That is, in fact, a very large reverb. Clear the buffer. Biggest reverb. Wow, that took a good almost a second for those first early reflections. Yeah, that's pretty big reverb, all right. Let's try the granular. Definitely hear a sort of granular, shifting granular effect there. Stutter, beat, repeat territory. Reverse it. Pretty interesting. Let's try the next one. Oh, that's interesting. That's got a real wave to it. Let's try the last one. Okay. Yeah, so pretty straightforward in a lot of ways for something that's as sort of vibey and far out as Soma stuff usually is. If you want something that's, it's got the 2 delay option. If you want something that's not exactly tame, but that's maybe a little more manageable, it's got the 4 delay line option if you really want to get far out. The reverb, if you just need a reverb that's bigger than God's fucking living room. And then the granular, which is different. the granular does not leap out to me as having an immediate use case in my mind, at least. I'm sure other people, like, you know, depending on what kind of noises you're trying to make, you're like, oh, fuck, that's exactly what I'm looking for, what kind of music you're trying to make. But I'm sure I will find some use for it. This is a very playable pedal, too, just like... So there you hear something interesting. You hear that? If you've got this on headphones or a decent pair of speakers, not laptop speakers, you should be able to hear some panning going on there. And that's all. That's not me. This is a mono output, and that's it's just doing that. It's not nothing I'm doing here. It's out of my control. Is what I'm saying. Yeah, the controls are very playable. Just even playing the mix top, bringing in that crazy, you know. Flipping stuff around in real time. Yeah, pretty cool stuff. Okay, so maybe we should make a quick sound. Oops. Let's clear all the buffers. Everything empty. Okay. Got a new session. Patches. Nope. That's not what I wanted. Up. New session. Okay, so we got... do like a kind of ambient tempo here. Synth does have key tracking, by the way. You turn that on here. Here's your level of key tracking. I think it's off to 100%. So maybe it's on by default. I'm not honestly sure. Okay, so I'm going to put this envelope on the filter. Oh, I see what's going on. I'm like, why does that keep sounding? It's because you hit the note, dummy. See what I mean? That's a long release. It is maybe just a little tricky to get to dial in a sort of medium long release, right? It seems like much easier to go very long. Oscillator in here. Tune it a little bit. Oh. shits and grins. Let's see, oscillator one, okay, my bolt-on saw. I see, that's an octave down. Do we want it an octave down? I think. Kind of a noisy mess. That's all right. That's kind of what I'm looking for. Let's see here. Just do a little. Yes, agreed. Supermassive reverb is for walking off stage while things finish out. That's essentially what I'm doing here. This is no longer making any noise, just feeding back, slowly decaying. 1 hour up. We did it, we made it, we looked at new toys. Does anyone have any questions about any of this stuff? Technical questions about any of this gear, or I know I've already gone over what it cost and shit like that. The Novation circuit monostation is long since discontinued. If you want one, scour your local classifieds if you have a good scene like that where you live. I've definitely seen them on and off available, like on Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace. Or get on eBay, set up an alert, and wait for someone to sell you one for a good price. They go for anywhere between $250 is about the cheapest I've ever seen them. I'm sure they've been occasionally. You might be able to find it cheaper. $250 up to $350 is sort of the range for these things. This one I paid $250 plus shipping for, so it ended up being like with shipping and tax, it was almost $300 exactly. Obviously, tax is inescapable, but if you want to include unless you're paying from a guy in a parking lot, but you know, I do generally include no sync inputs at all. This is not designed to sync or to be used with MIDI. So everything is just what you see on the top is what you get here. We can actually look at the back of this. So you got inputs, right and left inputs. Headphone input or output. These are right and left outputs, not inputs. Headphone output. Flash drive inputs for updating the firmware. Power on and off. And then right, left, in and out. That's it. That's the only inputs and outputs on the thing. It is the, what do you call it? The rhythmic one. The firmware that's supposed to work with more traditional looping. I think it's just basically tap tempo, like you just tap in. I've not looked at the thing, but that's the if it's going to sync to tempo, I can't imagine it's any other way than tap tempo. You just tap it in and it tells you. I guess we can also look at the circuit monostations inputs and outputs too, since before we leave here. So you got a line out and an audio in, and you absolutely can take a short cable, and do audio in line out into audio in, and then monitor via the headphones, and get the classic mini Moog filter feedback slash Arturia builds it into their sense as the brute factor, right? That's just an automated or automatic path for the feedback from the main output back into the filter. Here's your MIDI in, out, and through. It's the little dongles. You have to use the stupid dongles, TRS dongles. It's got clock in and out for syncing up to external gear. And then it's got note out, CV and gate, and then aux CV, which works with the sequencer. And yeah, so a big part about why I bought this, I was interested in the synth. Or maybe it would be more accurate to say it wasn't that I wasn't interested in the synth, but I'll admit one of the main reasons I bought this is because of my love of the circuit sequencer and the fact that it's got CV and gate output. I intend to sequence the modular with this thing at some point in the near future. I also sequence the modular with my MPC-1, but if you've used the MPC-1, you know it's super powerful. Goddamn, will do anything, but it's also a little unwieldy. Like, there's a lot to it, and so you don't always want to get into everything. And sometimes if you've got some weird residual hanging out, it does something weird. This is just pretty straightforward, and this sequencer, I mean, you saw how fast I programmed this little thing. And it sounds pretty good. I mean, not talk myself up with my awesome programming abilities, but I'm just saying, like, it's just fast and easy to do this. And yeah, so I intend to sequence my modular with this thing some of the time. That's probably going to be how well that works is probably going to help determine whether or not I actually keep this thing long term, or it ends up being one of those pieces of gear where I have for 6 months or a year. You know, I sample it a bunch, make some content, some videos with it, and then sell the fucking thing. So yeah, and then yeah, mini Moog style feedback is indeed a staple. Yeah, you can't go wrong with that sort of back into the filter, let's get noisy kind of a dealio. Okay, and that is 1 hour, so I'm going to wrap this up. I want to thank all of you for coming by. Digital Druid, thank you for hanging out. I don't know if this is the first time you've made it to one of these or not, but if it is, extra special welcome. And if it's not, you just get the regular welcome, but you're always welcome. I really appreciate you checking it out. Swarm of Dead Insects, obviously, always happy to see you. You are one of my most regulars, and it is deeply appreciated. For the rest of you that are quietly watching in the background, feel free to leave me a comment. Let me know what you thought. If you want to see more of this, if you want to see it with some different synthesizers, I would definitely be willing to say fire up the Mini Freak into this and see what we get. Or if we want to see it with some weird gear or whatever, definitely would be, at some point I will definitely do a all Soma stream where I'll fire up the Cosmos into the looper, and maybe I'll even get the Soma Ether out for some weird radio effects. Where is that thing? I swear to God, it's just sitting right here on my desk. I seem to have misplaced it at the moment. Anyway, that's that. Thank you so much for hanging out. Like and subscribe if you would. It helps me a bunch, helps other people see my content. Why do I keep saying content? I hate that word. Helps other people see my videos. That's what we're doing here, right? We're making videos. So if you would like and subscribe, it will help other people see my videos, and that's good for everybody. It's especially good for me, obviously. And yeah, we will see you next week, hopefully, if you have some time. Football season is also just about over. We got a week off, and then the Super Bowl next week, and then no more football for a while. And once that's all done, I might be doing some Sunday streams as well because my Sundays are now free. So, if you have Sundays off, maybe that's a better time for you to watch streams. Who knows? Okay, enough rambling. Thank you so much for coming by. I really deeply appreciate each